This is Lady Boulay, and thank you for clicking on the video. And I just wanted to come back to reinforce the idea that we have to be really careful about who we listen to because people have all kinds of propaganda going out there because they are scared. And they want black people to be scared too. They want black American descendants of slavery, foundational black Americans, to be afraid because everybody feels better when we're in a panic. We're upset because, oh my goodness, white people about to do something to us. I want you to listen to this video because this is the kind of propaganda that I'm talking about. And this lets you know how desperate people are to drag black people into their fight. So this is the kind of thing we have to be aware of.
So the Supreme Court ruled today that the federal courts have limited say in the birthright, ruling specifically that the judges were trying to provide injunctions to. Trump quickly gets on TV to make an announcement how he's going to roll through and continue with his executive orders to remove birthright citizenship that was meant for now I wanted you guys not to miss this. Peep this. He's clearly telling you what the plan is because he's clearly saying birthright citizenship was meant for babies of slaves. Who did he say again? Babies of slaves. So if they remove the law that protects this, every person that has slave lineage would no longer be a citizen. And I'll repeat that. Based on what they're saying, that rule was archaic, antiquated. It was made for years and years ago when slavery existed, and it was to make babies born to slaves citizens. So if they remove this law, this protection, as a means of fooling people to believe that they're talking about other immigrants, but by removing the law, it clearly was meant for babies born to slaves. If you remove that, every baby born thereafter would not be a citizen. And guess who then could be deported? So there, my friends, is the master plan. They're going to sell us. They're going to deport us. All those who've taken those 23andMe DNA tests, those Ancestry.com tests, all those who have slave lineage will be subject to deportation. That's why he's making all these quote-unquote deals with El Salvador, Qatar, all these foreign countries to hold all of these migrants. No one has stopped to think or ask, where are all these migrants coming from? We don't have this many people that we need to get country upon country to create these camps, mind you, to house these migrants, these criminals, they were saying. But in reality, he's getting into the slave trade. He's going to deport U.S. Black American citizens and or probably start with criminal prisoners. They're going to start with prisoners in jail. And then they're going to venture out to anyone else that goes against him because you're no longer a citizen, mind you. And you're going to get deported to be an indentured slave and or slave in one of these other countries. Wake up. You voted for this. Whether or not Rusky Muskie had anything to do with it, they're continuing to allow it to go on. So unless we put a stop to it, it's going to continue to go on. Happy Friday.
Okay, so this is what you call propaganda. She has flipped the whole script and made it about what Donald Trump said was the 14th Amendment is for the babies of slaves. Now, notice she didn't say anything about illegal immigrants. She didn't say anything about people overstaying visas. She didn't say anything about people coming here 9 months pregnant from foreign countries having babies so they would be American citizens. She didn't say anything about the fact that when President Obama was president way back in 2008, there were already 10 million illegal immigrants in this country, and those people have been procreating. She focused her narrative on babies of slaves, that would be us. So, this is her way of trying to get black people excited and upset and trying to do something about moving legislation because we have a history of getting legislation passed, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. And nobody's listening to them because many of them are not even American citizens. Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court. The job of the Supreme Court is to interpret law. The interpretation that Donald Trump is trying to get or trying to establish is that the 14th Amendment was established for the descendants for enslaved people and their children. There is nothing in the 14th Amendment that says anything about illegal immigrants. Here is more clarification of the 14th Amendment.
I've been told that I'm pretty good at explaining how the 14th Amendment in the United States Constitution only applies to children of lawful permanent residents and children of U.S. citizens. So if you actually read Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, it reads, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside." So the 14th Amendment lays out two conditions that you must fulfill in order to qualify for birthright citizenship. One, being born in the United States, and two, being subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So obviously everyone knows what it means to be born inside the United States, but what does it mean to be, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof? It's obviously not referring to location, as the first phrase in that, born in the United States, is already establishing location. It's establishing jurisdiction on you as a person. So there are certain laws that only U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents have to follow. Some of them are paying taxes, some of them are age of consent laws, and there's a plethora of other laws that only U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents have to follow when outside the United States. Illegal aliens and people on temporary visas do not have to follow these laws. They do not have to pay taxes on their worldwide income when they're living outside the United States. So this is what subject to the jurisdiction thereof means. It means the U.S. authority has full authority over you even if you're not in the United States. The 14th Amendment was not written to give illegal aliens citizenship. The 14th Amendment was written to give children of freed slaves U.S. citizenship. This is supported by the words of the writer of the Birthright Citizenship Clause, Senator Jacob M. Howard of Michigan. At the time, it was pretty clear in English that this wording excluded foreigners, aliens who belong to families of ambassadors and foreign ministers, and Indians, and foreign combatants, such as an invading army. Never in U.S. history has the Supreme Court ruled on giving illegal aliens U.S. citizenship. The only time they have ruled on giving foreigners U.S. citizenship was in the Supreme Court case, the United States versus Wong Kim Ark, in which case Wong Kim Ark had a permanent residence in the United States. So this can only arguably mean giving U.S. citizenship to children of permanent residents. And this is further supported in the fact that the United States versus Wong Kim Ark was in 1897. And in the year 1924 was the year the United States, by an act of Congress, granted Indians who were born on U.S. soil or tribal lands, does not matter, U.S. citizenship. So if the Supreme Court case, the United States versus Wong Kim Ark, were to give illegal aliens and everyone born on U.S. soil U.S. citizenship, why was an act of Congress necessary to give Indians U.S. citizenship in 1924?
He did an excellent job of explaining this, so I won't try to improve on it. Just know that there are people out here trying to confuse us for their purpose. What this woman is doing is dishonorable, it's deceitful, and it's devious. And there are a lot of them out here talking, and they don't know what they're talking about. So we do have to stay woke and we have to stay informed so that we don't fall for everybody's propaganda. And I'll leave you with this.
Deportation has not stopped, but all of the protests against deportation have stopped. Why? Because they couldn't convince you to get outside and sacrifice your body for their cause. They're still deporting people, but the people being deported are not protesting.
And neither should you. So we just have to stay alert because people are going to try to force us to fight their battle. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video and have a good day.